And so, hello guys, welcome again to the channel. So just a quick video today. We're going to share with you the current standard deck that I'm piloting in my local game store. So this is the Golgari Midrange that I made basing on several lists that was posted on the tournament results on both MTG Online, and I referenced this from the listing from the MTG Top 8 website and did some minor adjustments for my own basing on the current metagame. So let's take a look at the rundown. So the Golgari is composed of 26 creatures, 5 enchantments, 4 instants, and 2 sorceries, and 23 lands. So do take note that this is like similarly going with the benefit of having Orzhov, adding counters, and also getting some value out of this enchantment from Tarkir Dragonstorm Hallowmark Siege. So let's take a look at the grid of the choices. Of course, being familiar with this build, it's particularly having with the similar 1-drops and 2-drops, and of course more of the new cards has included here, including this cards from Edge of Eternity and the Summon Fenrir from Final Fantasy set. So the 1-drops here is default added for Llanowar Elves, because you need to, of course, to ramp up early on, having a turn 2 Sentinel or turn 2 Preacher into a turn 3 Acolyte. It's very kind of explosive for this kind of build. So that's 4 copies. Also, in addition, as a source of your Basan counters would be 2 copies of Pauper's Recruit. So this recruit is basically having as just a 1-drop, or later on can be offspring into additional copy, wherein creatures you control that becomes the target of spells or abilities by your opponent particularly gets you to put percent counters on creatures other than the target. So particularly that's 3%+1 counters, and this is particularly good against matchups with Dimir and maybe even with the Izzet Cauldron, wherein you can put counters in regard if they put in those spot removals. In addition, also I have considered the Deep Cavern Bat. So this Cavern Bat is particularly just for disrupting your opponent and having also a 1-man body with flying and lifelink, but with the concept of having these percent counters, adding with the Orzhov makes it a very significant threat and also a good damage raise because of the lifelink effects that to add to your life total. So damage raise, you can evade most creatures, disrupts your opponent's best cards, at the same time can also get you a ton of life if added with some percent counters from your other creatures. In the other 2-drops here, it's also act as a utility card is your Must-Have Dread Knight. So this creature is particularly going with the Dread Whispers as a card effect early on, and can also be cast from Adventure, and it's a 2-drop 3/2 Trampler, and with the benefit, if it dies, you may cast it from your graveyard as an adventure, so you also draw a card and lose 1 life. And life loss would not be relevant here because you have also a few life gain effects such as this of the Deep Cavern Bat in the deck. And for the 3-drops, particularly Sentinel Slim City is your main 3-drop here because of the metagame that somewhat has a lot of -3/-3 effects or 3 damage. Sentinel particularly survive those. At the same time, you get a free map token, wherein the map token filter outer lands, so explore that. And then also having a vigilance creature means that it can attack and defend at the same time. So that's 4 copies in the deck. In particular, similar fashion is your creature the Schism, wherein you get a Death Touch 2/4, and those creature with the effect that attacks, it can either produce a 1/1 white bomber creature token if the player has most life, and if you have more life than that player or tied for the most life, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. So card effect and the army generator effect all in one in this card is very efficient in this deck build. And the other 3-drop here is a utility card, Summon Fenrir, which also gets you to fetch a basic land from your library, put in the top, and then the next cast a creature spell that gets a percent counter and also draws you a card. And to take note that this Saga counter would also trigger your Hallowmark Siege, because putting counters on a creature you control, you will draw a card in the process. So this is also a very good trade-up in this deck, gets you to ramp and gets you card draw effects at the same time. And for the 4 drops, which is basically your end game, you can have here the 2 copies each of Elegy, Acolyte, and Orboid. So again, Acolyte is basically gets you a 4/4 life linker, and at the same time, card effects whenever one or more creature you control deals combat damage. And Void at the same time gets to trigger with non-permanent left the battlefield or a spell was warped, you'll create a bonus colorless robot artifact creature token to your board. So take note that this could also trigger with sacrificing your map tokens to have the Void effect. And also Orboid, of course, adding personal encounters would be very beneficial, especially if you're going to curve early on with those 1 drops, 2 drops, 3 drops in the same time, Orboid to pump up your board with this card of passing personal encounters. And this card is basically your spot removal, which can be omen and be casted at later turn. And if needed, you can cast it for 5 to destroy a relevant artifact or enchantment from your opponent. And also gets you a 3/3 body, so that's also good flyer per se. So let's take a look again at the enchantments. So these 2 cards are basically your 2 card synergy, because you're putting some counters and creatures, you draw a card. Only it triggers once its turn, but you can also at any instance you get to put counters on your opponent's turn. You also get to trigger at any given instance. You can also choose Absand, wherein whenever you attack, put some counter on a creature and it gains menace until end turn. And to take note that in Keeper's Talents level 2 gets you to have your permanents with or counters on them have ward 1, and at level 3 you would put those counters twice that many on a permanent or player. So that basically your synergy card for your enchantments. And of course, Golgari would not be that complete without the spot removal. So it's signature spells for the current standard metagame, wherein you get Shoot the Sheriff and Bitter Triumph as your main and solid spot removal. Though I prefer Bitter Triumph because it does not restriction to any target creature or planeswalker. At the same time, paying 3 life would not be a problem here because you have also a lot of life gain effects as your source to regain that life lost from the cost of the card. And of course, 1-offs are pretty much relevant here because Trajectory Fury can stop off early assault with the 1 mana cost, and triggering the Void also gets you to kill off a huge copy creature. Maelstrom Pulse also, because it's any non-permanent, and all the permanents with the same name as a permanent will be destroyed. Do take note that tokens also can be destroyed because mostly they have the same name as the card. And for the lands, since we have 23 lands, it is particularly utilizing basics. We have 5 forests and 4 swamps, as well as Blooming Mars. We have 4 copies. Westful Birds from Ederdrift is also 4 copy in the deck. And to take note that we have a needed manland in the form of Blessed Cottage to become a threat later on as a 4/4 horror, which can exile graveyards and create food token. And also Soulstone Sanctuary is an added 3/3 creature with vigilance for creature types. Now, so for quick rundown of the sideboard, basically I just have to use pretty much straightforward spells such as Duress. I have basically using Duress for this one. So Duress particularly is your sideboard for mid-range for blue control, so at least 3 copies to deck, or maybe even 4 copies. Similar fashion, we have some Graveyard Shenanigan sideboard in the form of Scavenging Ooze. So Ooze is also a good sideboard here, but in any case that it would need to have a main deck option, I would have this also as a choice for that one. And also, I think Harvester would be also a good sideboard here, because Harvester is particularly getting you a white board effect to clear off tokens against basically Simic aggro is your also good matchup to deal with them. Also, additional spot removal in the form of my personal favorite and the namesake of my deck. The deck in the channel is Deathmark. So Deathmark particularly is killing off green and white creature. It's good against Simic. It's also good against Mirror and also Mono Green aggro. that landfall effect deck would also be your heavy matchup that is lean on the aggro stead. And more of the shenanigans, I have also Heritage Reclamation as a sideboard for instant effect, which can also deal with artifact and enchantments. So at least 2 copies of that in the deck, because you see here destroying synthesizers also in other shenanigans of enchantments. You would need to have those in your sideboard. So particularly, that's pretty much this. I just choose a lot of one-offs because I'm really a fan of one-off cards. But also having Vivid Red, for example, is a sort of late game utility planeswalker for Azorius in the Esper control. I'll also use, I think, Lord Skitter, the Sewer's King, as your additional removal for the graveyard, as well as getting you some shenanigans with having your rat tokens, which also works well with the Orobroid because you also get to pump them with this card. So let's take a look at the mana cost of the colors before we wrap this video up. Oh, it's particularly even. We have 26 for green and 21 for black. Production is about 16 and 21. As you can see here, it's also aligned for green because you need to have a turn 1 Annual Elf into maybe a turn 1 other green creature, and Summon Finder would also help you to fix that mana. So that's the one important things. Average mana value is 2.38. It's still going with only, I think the 4-drop would be the only highest mana cost here. If you go in the sideboard, then Vivid Red would be your other high mana cost in the deck. And lastly, let's check on the tokens. We have 8, particularly Food Token, Map Token, the Offspring Token for Propatch Recruit, the Rat Token from Lord Skitter, we have the Robot Token, and the Vampire Token from Creature of the Schism, and extras also are this On Adventure Token for the Dread Knight, and of course Vivid Red's Emblem Token. So I think that's much it, guys. That's how the deck would look like. I'm pretty sure there are also other variants of the Golgari Midrange, but I would kind of maybe try those soon. But for now, this would be the deck that I'm playing, which I think would suit well for my standard metagame and the local gameplay scenario. Just avoid maybe some of the Vivian combo, that's the VV I mean, and also that of the mono red matchups. So I think it's pretty much it, guys. Thank you for watching. This is again Golgari Midrange for Spider-Man Standard, my local deck choice for this format. Don't forget to like, subscribe, notifications on, and see you on the next video.